Good afternoon and welcome back. Before we begin, some gentle reminders. Please remember to silence all your devices. Please also download the event app as it will help you schedule your day. It is also where you can share your feedback with us after every session you attend today. You can also redeem a free AWS branded swag at the Ask the Experts zone after you complete the survey. All AWS sessions you see today are being recorded and available after the session via content devices on exit. Now please welcome to the stage Vincent from AWS and Wang Wook from Nespresso, who will present on the next lab in education, accelerating your journey through innovation. Vincent, please.
Thank you, Michelle, for the warm introduction. Very quick introduction about myself first. My name is Vincent Kwa. I'm the Regional Head for Education, Research, Healthcare, and Not-for-Profit. Say that in 10 seconds or less. Being very good at already announcing my title. But what I'm passionate about is really working with the education customers, the students, the teachers, and the institutions. And that's what's keeping me motivated and working with these customers because we want to impact lives. And here we're talking about how education customers are accelerating their journey and going through digital transformation, leveraging the cloud. This is the agenda that I'm going to talk about. What is education and why AWS is used in education? What kind of trends we are observing? How they are using AWS. Then I'm going to go through specific examples of 3 different sets of use cases covering big data, analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. But what is exciting also is I'm going to have my good friend, Eric, from Nespresso. He's from Korea, and the company is established in Korea, come out and tell their story about how they are using AI and ML and also analytics in their solution. And finally, I'll come back to wrap up the last section to give you a sense of what are the education programs that AWS has. If you have not already seen this, these are the reasons why customers in education are adopting the cloud in a very rapid way. Because of the agility of the infrastructure that AWS provides, the users can reach out into their management console and select a very specific type of service. And if that service is not appropriate for them, they can quickly change whether it's the size or the type of service may not be appropriate for that use and quickly change it so that they can find another service that is appropriate for them. That agility makes a very big difference to a lot of education customers. And that difference is because that if you invest in capital expenditure, you are fixed and committed to a piece of hardware, whether you're going to use it or not. But in AWS, because of our model, where it's on demand and pay as you go, you have that ability to switch your services and the use of the services very, very quickly. And that agility is one of the biggest drivers for education customers in wanting to use the cloud. The second is the breadth of services. I joined AWS more than 5 years ago, and when we talk about the breadth of services, I think we had just about 30 plus sets of services. Fast forward 5 years, we now have more than 165 set of services that we offer to our customers. That's a 5 times growth in terms of the services that we now provide to our customer. That's an incredible acceleration of innovation that the company is bringing to our education customers. And of course, a lot of people will talk about cost savings. Those are some of the reasons why our education customers are accelerating their journey into the cloud, and it's why we also call now, in fact, it actually started last year and the year before, we call it the new normal in education. Cloud is the new normal in education. We have customers ranging from these 4 big areas. higher education, K-12, which in our context, we talk about the primary and the secondary schools, as well as education technology companies and learning companies. Another way of describing learning companies are publishers. We have customers spanning all these four big categories of customers, and really it all covers a very broad range of use cases, the differences in the scenarios that each one of these customers have, and how they are using AWS to accelerate their journey to transform themselves. And so we are very excited to be working alongside all these different customers. You must have heard it in the keynote or in somewhere else. We have tens of thousands of government, education institutions, and not-for-profit customers within the public sector organization as customers. And we're very privileged to be able to work with each one of them as we journey into the cloud. I want to quickly now go into the trends that we are observing in terms of education technology and where we see a lot of interest in the industry. I'll quickly just go through all this. These are the four big areas that we know that our customers are asking us about. Firstly, it's about data and how they can use the data to drive personalization of services. Secondly, if you have not heard, voice technology is going to be a big thing in the next couple of years. Thirdly, there's also virtual and augmented reality. And lastly, machine learning and artificial intelligence. Many of our customers are now coming to AWS and talking to us individually about these four different trends. Some of them are going to be a bit early, right? Whereas some, we are already quite deep into these trends. And the examples that I will use and illustrate will only cover a couple of these. I will not be able to cover everything because then there's just too much content. And so I will really focus on the unified data and personalization as well as the machine learning and artificial intelligence. Maybe next year we'll talk about voice technology and augmented reality when we have more customers really using them in a meaningful way, especially in an education context. This is just a sample slide of many different education customers that are already using AWS. As you can see, it ranges from the four different large categories that I talked about: higher education, K-12, education technology companies, as well as learning companies. You can find out more about our other customers if you go to our website, so I will not dwell too much on this. So the question for us then is, what's next? What are some of the business outcome and challenges our education customers are faced with or are asking themselves? And we see and we hear from them that these are some of the questions that they keep asking. Number one, how to improve students' experiences when especially they are accessing learning resources. Secondly, the student wants access to education opportunities. And thirdly, how can they securely store large amount of data? There's a saying in the education sector. The education sector is data rich, but insight poor. You're sitting on top of a lot of data and information, but you actually don't know what this data and information is telling you, or what gems is contained within that data source that you have access. And we want to be able to work with you and help go through a journey for you to develop capabilities to find out what are the gems that is inside your data. And so, at the very beginning, I said that I'm going to talk about big data, AI, ML, and analytics. So let's start with big data. And I will show you and share with you some examples, some customer examples that we have, how they are actually using AWS to make sense of their big data. But first, what is big data? Right, that is simply a collection and analysis of large amount of data. And the reason why you're collecting this data is to ask questions and to, of course, answer those questions and to create a clear, distinct advantage for yourself. Okay? And so you need to be able to collect, process, and even visualize all this data that you have. And how then do you do that? So the first example that I really want to share with you is this example from this education technology company called Newton. They've developed a learning management system which they claim at that time it is an adaptive learning management system. Right? As you can see there, Newton is an adaptive learning technology provider with a mission to bring personalized education to the world. That's their big mission and vision. What do they need to do is, firstly, because they need to identify the knowledge gaps that is in their users, it needs a lot of data about how the users are using their content, how the users are interacting with the content, how much time the users are spending in their content in their knowledge management in their learning management system. And so they launched this service, and of course when they launch a service like this, they expect it to be used by people from all over the world. And that is an important requirement that they have. And if you read what Ryan Pritchard, the CTO of Newton, said, AWS provides a reliable infrastructure and helps us power the materials for education companies internationally. They are using the AWS services and infrastructure as a way to accelerate their growth and to innovation. The other thing about Newton is that they have also acknowledged that by using AWS, they cut their monthly bill by half, and they were able to expand into new markets, capturing more customers in the learning, adaptive learning market. And so it's very exciting for them. Another customer, New York University, also used big data on AWS, but their field of expertise is in the area of health and bioinformatics. I had a time to share about healthcare yesterday, and I was saying that a single patient of genomic data can roughly translate to about 1 terabyte of storage requirement. Now, trying to think, what is 1 terabyte, right? So I was just using the analogy that if you have an Apple iPad and it's a 128 gigabyte Apple iPad, you probably have a stack of about 8 iPads. That's equivalent to about 1 terabyte. It's maybe slightly more. So you have one person, one patient genomic data, that is 1 terabyte of data, 8 iPads. So in this room, let's say we have 100 people. I'm just assuming that. That's going to be 100 terabytes. So that's going to be 8 times 100 iPads, 800 iPads here. That's the amount of storage that you need to be able to store just the genomic data of 100 patients. We have not included X-rays, MRI images, CT scans, patient records, and all that. When you multiply all these together, the amount of data is just going to be so large. And so what they need to do is to be able to store everything together, bring all the different data sources together so that they can perform a large-scale data analysis, and to provide this data to many different scientists who works on the same problem to access it and to do the different types of analysis that is required. Perhaps one scientist is working on a different part of the body, maybe the heart. Another scientist is working on the kidney. Another scientist is working on lungs. And so, they are able to collect all this information but making it available to all the different researchers and scientists. And so that's what they are able to do. So by doing that, they are able to collaborate with many people. Next, on artificial intelligence and machine learning, AWS probably have the broadest and deepest stack of technologies that we can provide to users to do artificial intelligence and machine learning. And there are definitely different levels. Some are very advanced where you need to have very deep technical knowledge, but some of these services are actually very simple to use and very easy to integrate into your into whatever that you are trying to do. And so do come and talk to us, because it's almost impossible for me to go through all these different services in a short time. But the important thing is who then have been using these services. Two examples I want to quickly share with you. The first is the College Board. Right, they are a 118-year-old company. They represent over 6,000 universities. And what they do is they bring all the different assessments together, and they make access to higher education more equitable, more fair. And so they want to make sure that they analyze results and provide insights into all those results that they have. They use a very interesting service from Amazon called SageMaker. It's a managed machine learning capability that we have. And then they were able to collect all this information and model the data through the use of this SageMaker capability that Amazon provides. Right. They build this classic model, and then from there, they are able to derive insights about their students, about performance, about the educators as well. And so they also are looking to modernize the way they're going to deliver their services to their customers. The second example is this organization called ETS, which is a non-profit organization. And what they do is they actually use Amazon Polly, which turns text into lifelike speech. One of the challenges is that there are people who want to access services who are blind. And so the only way that they can interact with services like from ETS is through voice. And so this is the way they have managed to innovate themselves and provide that special service, leveraging a service like Amazon Polly so that it can translate all the textual information into a lifelike speech and then delivering it to people who are handicapped, blindness, for example. So if you read the third point, it says one area where they have used Amazon Polly is in the GRE exam, right? It's an admission exam for graduates. This exam is timed, but the blind and low vision test taker cannot see the timer. That's going to be a challenge. And so this is something that can help them become more equitable and be treated more fairly using these kind of technologies. So much so for big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Right now, it's my pleasure to call upon Eric from the company Nespresso to come and share about their journey of how they have taken these technologies and using AWS to accelerate innovation in the education field. Eric, can I ask you to come and start sharing with us? Let's give a round of applause to Eric.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for Vincent's great introduction, and I hope everyone is having a great afternoon. My name is Wang Wook or Eric Zhang from Nespresso, and I'm here to share my experience about how we are trying to innovate education with AI and cloud technology. To briefly introduce about myself and my company, my name is Wang Wook and I work for Nespresso. And Nespresso is an edtech startup founded in Korea. What problem we are trying to solve? In Korea, students try hard to study. They study a lot, and while they study, they have questions. But sad point is that when they have questions, there is a chance that they miss the opportunity to ask a question. If teachers can help or friends can help, that's great, but that's not always the case. Some students take private tutoring, but what if there's a better way? We thought that AI can address this issue. We, Nespresso, is trying to make the best experience while students struggle, while trying to solve math problems, or they have questions, and things like that. Our product, Kwanda, is an AI-based solution search engine. Just by taking a photo of a problem, they can search for solution, as people can search information on Google. To help you understand better, I prepared the video of our service. When they take a picture, we give them solutions. If there's a formula we can solve, we do it on the fly. And this is an experimental feature that we recommend related concept lecture. And also, we provide similar problems to help them exercise by themselves. Or if students still doesn't understand the problem, they can ask a question to tutors. That's how our service works. Now, I'd like to share you the story of the past, our Nespresso's past. Because we are startups, our products change a lot, and at the beginning, the product didn't look like this. So I'd like to share the experience. As an innovator and as a startup, we were under a great challenge because there are a lot of competition and our service grows very fast and user pool and number of users and traffic grows fast too. On the other hand, there are a lot of limitations. Like we have limited budget, we have limited time because time to the market is so important for us. And for instance, we have limited engineers. At the beginning, we started as a Q&A platform. So when students doesn't know some problems, they take a picture of it, and then tutors are matched and they give them answers. It was kind of simple, but yeah. As a domain newbie, this was kind of challenging still. We had limited time and limited engineers, and we needed to develop backends to handle those kind of features like uploading images and matching students and tutors each other. So we chose to deploy our service to well-managed services like AWS Elastic Beanstalk or relational database service and things like that. If we concerned more about infrastructure more and do manual things, it must been harder to make it in time. In the world, there are a lot of best practice for startups. Like when I was in university, I tried to install Ubuntu server and install database, set up web server for that, things like that. That was a great experience. But for startup, things are different. For instance, we have to deploy our service, for example, 10 times a day to change our product faster and faster. That kind of thing involves automation and DevOps things. And on AWS, those concepts are very natural. All people talk about DevOps and automation, and by doing that, we engineers can focus on the product. So we focus to develop features and develop business logic, not working on infrastructure. That was our beginning, and I'd like to share the story when we were in growth period. Our early version of Kanda has some limitations. Since tutors are answering questions one by one, it was not scalable enough, and it was not cheap enough because there was a certain cost that should be paid to tutors. And we began to think about, is there anything we can leverage our data that is built up during the Q&A process? All the question and answers were captured from smartphone cameras, and we wanted to categorize and understand what the content of the image is. And by doing that, we wanted to deliver them when students needed it. Fortunately, at that time, there was a huge wave of AI and deep learning, and we were engineers. We thought, this is it. We tried to develop OCR model that is able to extract formulas and letters from images. And then we can index those question and answers so that when other students ask similar problem, we can give them solution right away. That was our first rebranding, and here comes the number. This graph shows the traffic or the number of images uploaded on our platform. And before rebranding as a search service, when we were Q&A service, the number of questions uploaded is a scale of several thousands. And these days, we handle nearly 1 million images every day. And on the peak time, we have to handle nearly 100 images per second. This is not a trivial number. How did we manage this? Cloud, by nature, concerns scalability. On AWS, there are a lot of scalability blocks like auto-scaling groups or some concepts like serverless blocks like AWS Lambda, things like that. And by applying those ideas, we could build the infrastructure that is able to handle those traffic. Also, those kind of service, like real-time search service, is very hard because it involves a lot of computation, and our OCR model involves neural network inference. And hopefully, there was a deep learning AMI, which is deep learning image, that helps us to inference using our deep learning model. And everything was possible. We had no trouble applying our idea on AWS. Now, we dream our next goal. We wanted to make this innovation globally. What was our challenge? We had to ensure the same speed and availability globally. It means that a student from Singapore should be able to receive answers from tutors, for example, American tutors, without any problem. AWS have a great support on global infrastructure. There are a lot of regions, and on each region, there are several availability zones to ensure that infra is available at any time in a physical manner. Also, they have a great content delivery network. It means that we can deliver images or videos or whatever without any concern. It has very high availability, high performance, and we are very happy with that. And provisioning this kind of computation resources very easy. For instance, we popped up our computation resource on Seoul region, and popping up another instance in Australia or Europe or America, it's just same as that. We can click few times on admin console, or we can write down some provisioning scripts for that. It's that easy, and it gives you flexibility. That's a huge advantage of cloud computing. And I'd like to briefly mention about our cost optimization story. This is a graph from our service. It indicates traffic during 1 week. You see that our traffic is kind of dynamic, and on the graph of the last slide, we grew a lot, for example, for a year. This kind of dynamic traffic, dynamic growth, to handle that, we can adjust the computation resource to catch up those kind of traffic. And when we don't need that, we can turn off some instances. By doing that, we can optimize, reduce the cost of the infra. Also, I'd like to mention that we recently got cost optimization consulting from AWS expert, and that was great because AWS concerns our cost, and they help us to reduce that. That is, I think, AWS policy, and I'm very happy with that. And we dream of bigger, better platform. We want more study contents to be available on the internet, on our platform, and we want to understand students better. Because AI is developing, growing so well. We are collecting students' learning data more and more. We will be able to understand students more. And by doing that, we can give most appropriate study contents when students need it. And by doing that, we believe that we can give better opportunity of better education to more people, regardless of their nature or their family background or parents' income. As a startup, we are still innovating. We have a lot to do more, and thankfully, AWS is here. And what I'm happy with that is that they are very flexible, they have high performance, they are available at any time. Whatever I dream, that is achievable on AWS. That's why AWS is #1 in cloud things, and maybe I will be AWS. And thank you for hearing my Sorry. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Eric. We really need to congratulate Eric because he's Korean. This is the first non-Korean conference that he's speaking at. He's pretty nervous, and so let's give a round of applause to Eric. I want to quickly zip through now the last few slides on analytics. In order for you to be able to do really meaningful analytics, one of the key steps that you have to take is to create a data lake. And that is to pull all the different sources of information together, put it in one single location, and then try to drive correlations between the different sets of data and then do your analysis. We have a few customers that are doing that in a really meaningful way. I don't want to spend time just reading some of the text there. All the examples that I have shared on the slide are available on our website, so you can actually go and read the details of it. But we have schools like the ICANN School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, which is a very renowned medical school. They're using this analytics platform in AWS to do their research. A very famous research organization in Australia, the Walter Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research, they are also doing the same thing. And what we want to be able to do is continue to develop tools and capabilities for our customers to do these kind of large scale but very, very meaningful analytics capability. My last slide. If you are in education, one of the key topics that you can never run away from is about learning and getting skill up in new technologies. And in AWS, we have a slew of education programs. Let me say that AWS Educate, AWS Academy, and AWS EdStart are 3 programs that are free to join, but they serve different purposes. If you are in institutions looking to teach about the cloud and for your students to learn about the cloud, and you want to teach your students to acquire skills that will help them prepare for the future of a cloud workforce world in the future, but you can start it today, AWS Educate is the program for you. But if you want to also develop your students in this skill set and helping them achieve certification, AWS Academy is the other route for you to take. Lastly, if you are in an education technology startup that is less than 5 years old, making or creating and generating revenue of less than $10 million, and you have a great idea of delivering or developing an innovative solution to the education institution, AWS EdStart is the program for you. I just did a panel interview amongst 3 AWS EdStart members, giving them an opportunity to talk about their story of how they have grown and how AWS EdStart has helped them. And so that's a program specifically designed for education technology startups. Right? So these are the programs that we have specifically designed for the education sector, and we really hope that you can take full advantage of this program. They are free. And so with that, I want to thank you for your attention. Would also really appreciate if you could complete your survey. And like our hosts have mentioned, once you've completed the survey, there's going to be an AWS branded swag that is going to be available for you. With that, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Wang Wook and Vincent. Please remember to submit your feedback on this session in the app. If you're interested in having a copy of the slides, please tap your badge on the content devices at the exit. The next session in this room is Become Migration Ready. Accelerate and optimize your cloud adoption with government hybrid cloud architecture, and it will begin promptly at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.